We have the 30mm tyres on. We have lowered our tyre pressure to 75 psi. The live show is live. Hey guys, and welcome to the 5th live show. Obviously a massive weekend of racing. Heaps to talk about. We will get through all of it. Before we do, guys, we have a real life human grown-up person's competition on this show now, would you believe? We have a set of Laser Walter large sunglasses, the same ones as the Nero KOM team are using. Look, you can win these, and you can win them via the live chat tonight, guys. Ask us questions throughout this evening using the hashtag #UseYourHead. So it's a question followed by the hashtag #UseYourHead. We will talk about this as it goes on and do a draw right at the end. Now I am joined, we've had a serious selection meeting, but we have been joined again by the man himself, Mr. Angus Calder. How are you, Angus?
G'day, Chris. Good to be back. Replacing Daniel Vanderland. I mean, if you pick Richie Port to crash out of the tour and then he crashes out of the tour, that's a quick way to get yourself off the vlog.
See you later.
Yeah, I mean, obviously pretty gutted to see Richie come out of that one. It's pretty hard to see it in front of the TV. But I mean, these things happen in bike racing sometimes. Speaking of bike racing, we had a bit of racing over the weekend. Yep. Chris Powell and I hitting up the Sydney scene. We had Heffron and Bowie on Saturday and Sunday. Managed to get up for the win at Bowie on Sunday, which is pretty nice. And you guys had a win down in Victoria, I believe. My one question for you is, how did you let Vanderland beat you?
Well, okay. See, here's the thing. So I kind of challenged Dan last week. I was like, because Groeneweggen's going out and winning all these stages, and I said, well, Dan, like, you know, why can't you make your bike go as fast as him? Well, he kind of went and showed me that. Seriously though, we had a cracking weekend down there. You kind of saw that we did the live show down there, and then I went for my first ever Dandenongs ride with Lee, Sammy, and Al for about 12 Ks, I think Al was there, but anyway, it was good. It was pretty cool. That was a Saturday. On the Sunday, we headed out to Footscray Cycling Club, had a handicap race there, and it was an 80k chop off, brutal winds, not quite as bad as Warney a couple of years ago, but certainly has got a bit of flashbacks from that. Look, it was really cool to get down there. I need to get down there more to see those guys. They've built this really nice, like, dynamic down there. So it's a team that's working well, which is almost a segue, Angus, because we need to start talking about this Tour de France. And maybe not everything is working that well at Katusha.
Yeah, I mean, before we get to the cobble stage, it was a couple of interesting things to note from stage 8, I believe. I always like seeing this drama at the Tour. Kittle finishing a stage, not very happy with how he's finished. He walked up to the team bus, threw his bike against the bus, and then he's later heard yelling at some of the team members inside the bus.
Sprinters,
which is not ideal. And then the DS goes out, speaks to the TV, says that he's paid a lot of money, he's not performing up to scratch, all these kinds of things. He's very selfish. They basically just had a go at Kittle on TV. I thought that was pretty funny. It's interesting to see these kinds of things happen. It's
funny, like, sprinters are a strange breed. We have both seen that, even at the level that we race at. But I mean, like, guys like that, he's a paid professional. He's on his phone during the team time trial chat. It's pretty poor look, I reckon. I don't know, my kind of feeling might be that he feels like he's gone down a rung or two in the sprinters hierarchy.
Yeah, I mean, you could say that. I mean, sprinters' confidence is key, and once you get that confidence rolling, you'll start getting up the wins, and you can move into that sort of top echelon of sprinters. And it seems like he's been replaced by Dylan Groeneweggen.
Mr. Groeneweggen, yeah.
Lotto Jumbo. He's picked up 2 stage wins back to back in pretty dominant fashion. So I think we've seen someone who might be moving up to start picking up a couple of stage wins in the sprints and things.
I think you're probably right. Luke, skip forward a few pictures because whilst the results was of that man, Mr. Groenewegen, winning the stage, you picked out a couple of little bits and pieces.
Yeah, I mean, I always like seeing the non-results kinds of things in these sort of races. And, I mean, it's interesting seeing things like this happen halfway through a stage. I mean, they're long stages. You've got to make sure you're comfortable.
Yeah.
A lot of these sprinters run fixed cleats. So for those of you running Shimano pedals at home, most of you will have yellow cleats. They've got quite a lot of float in them, a lot of movement. These guys run the red fixed cleats, and Cav's obviously not quite perfect. So he's pulled over mid-stage, mechanics come running out of the car, Allen key in hand, and there's Cav fixing his cleat mid-stage to try and make sure that it's perfect. And then another thing that you have is obviously Dan Martin crashed. UAE team leader, so his bike's going to be on the outside of the team car so that they can bring his bike off as fast as possible. Just do a bike change, and they've actually strapped his bike to the car. Look, you want to go to the next picture. They've actually strapped his bike to the car, and they couldn't get it off in time to get it to him quite fast enough. So there was Dan Martin trying to get his bike, and the mechanic can't get it off the roof of the car.
Now, poor old Luke skipped forward the wrong picture, but that's all right. That's all right because we are professional here. No, we're going to leave that one now because I wanted to pop this one out. So, you know, here we are in this no syringes cycling era. We're all clean and all the rest of it, and yet now the bike industry have got us putting syringes into our bike. I'm not quite sure this is the direction we probably need to be taking the bike industry at this stage. But I thought that was a bit of an interesting one. If you can kind of skip forward to the next shot there as well, Luke. There's the said strap that we were talking about. The next one, look, so I'll give you a little story to this picture. So we kind of did a little run through about, what do you want to talk about stage 8, blah, blah, blah. And Angus sends me this picture through, and it's like, and I just I saw like a thumbnail of the picture and went, he just wants to talk about, how Robert Hessink was really, really proud of Dylan Groeneweg's result and that he celebrated it with his kids.
Yeah, you'd be wrong. I was actually pretty stoked to see Robert Hessink obviously taking his son out for a bike ride, and pretty awesime to see them finishing together. It's amazing. The father and son bond is real.
Seriously, that dude's 24.
Even in the Tour de France. Yeah, he's 24 years old. It's and people thought I had a baby face, but apparently not.
That is next level, that fella. Now, guys, we have a pretty exciting development here on the live show. We've promised you this for since episode 1, but you couldn't hear that because episode 1 didn't really work. But anyway, as you all know, a couple of months ago, we said farewell to Bo for how long we don't quite know. But the good news is not only have we tracked him down, but we have our own Bo's Bowl on tour. Gabriel Gatte, eat your heart out. Throw to Mr. Bowl, please, Luke.
So we're doing Bo's Bowl does Europe. So currently here in Maine, Germany, which is not too far from Wolfsburg, which is the home of VW. And originally the tank hub for Hitler's German tank factory making machine back in the World War II. We're doing quintessential summer treat here, which is ice cream, and I've gone for the tiramisu and what's it called? The green? What? Elderflower, which is not something you see in Australia. It's super sweet, but it really works with this tiramisu blend. So on a hot day like today, can't complain. I have to give it a 4 out of 5 on
4 out of 5.
Bo's chili scale, and yeah, this will good fuel to come. Anyway, to all you Nero fans out there, good to be back in the bowl. See ya.
How good was that? So we tracked him down. He's keen to do a few more. They're bike camping. Bike camping, is that the right word?
Yeah, packing.
Bike packing, sorry. Through the Scandinavian region at the moment. So we just thought we'd quickly pop back through some of the questions currently flying through. Luke, if you can spot any that you need to particularly ask.
Oh, I saw Jack Bennett asked if I'm actually your son. You'll never know, I guess. Leg warmers over or under Oh, socks over or under your leg warmers? Sorry.
100% under. That's not even up for debate.
Brendan asked, will Cav win stage 21?
Will Cav win stage 21? I'm going to say pretty firm no to that one. I don't think he's quite got it this year. Even admitted in one of his interviews that he just can't go fast enough.
Yeah.
So I think, I don't know, we kind of need to see him get up for the stage win record, but I just don't think it's going to happen.
No,
Antoine asked, why do Vanderland's leg warmers not fit him?
Now that is a fantastic point. Mr. Vanderland has this is the challenge of designing kit a lot of the time, because the humans have very, very different sort of shapes to them. He has extraordinarily wide legs, but they're actually sort of midget height. So hence he ends up running like a large leg warmer to actually get it around the friggin' girth of his knee, but he only is, as you know, he's not a tall human, so it bunches up. I think he just needs to lose some weight personally, but
Tell him to speak to me. I've got a solution for him. We'll work something out.
Will Kittle win a stage? That is a great question. That is a great question. My answer is a firm no.
I think it's possible. He's come close, but hasn't quite nailed it. I'm not going to say yes or no. I'm going to say it's quite possible. I wouldn't be surprised if it was either way. Actually,
good question from Manly there.
The zipperless jersey, absolute massive fan of the tech behind it. I definitely see some benefits to that. Reality, practicality of that.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. What if you get a hot day and you just want to unzip it a little bit? Not really an option there, I guess.
Or a piss stop.
Yeah, exactly. Jack Bennett, your chamois cream does not go onto your chamois directly. Yeah, I don't really need to say any more than that.
No. We've also been running something called Athlete's Gel recently, which has been a really cool Embro. Kids, remember with your Embro to make sure you put that on after you put your bib shorts on. If you pre-Embro with this particular stuff, certain areas are going to get fired up. That's all I'll say.
Definitely.
Disc brake question there.
Have disc brakes made the peloton safer? Good question. Obviously not. I mean, you've had a pretty insane amount of crashes this Tour de France. I don't think so.
Well, I mean,
could it be a differential in braking? I'm not really sure.
We'll get on to that, because obviously the tech of Roubaix was really interesting, and I kind of thought my kind of theory there was just like every team would just go full disc brake spec for it. I thought it was like made for it. It went the other way. Like, some of the teams that were running disc went back to rim for the actual stage. I'm not sure whether that was the wider tyres or what.
I mean, if anything, a wider tyre would have fit better on a disc brake bike. But I mean, I think the one thing you could say is that they've kind of just gone back to the tried and true equipment that they've always used for Roubaix. They haven't had disc brakes for enough Roubaix to really have proven them as being reliable, and they just went back to the standard, the old trusty.
All right, we're getting.
So one more question. I've seen this question twice now. Is the tour over?
Is the tour over? Absolutely not. I mean,
no way.
What kind of question is that?
We are just getting it. Look, it's pretty much the way I kind of see it at the moment. It's like scores level at the end of quarter time. Like, there is so much still to be played here. We'll get on to that, because I reckon the sort of the ramifications of the GC guys riding these Roubaix cobbles are going to play out in the next couple of days, and it's going to be really hard. Guys, we'll come back to some of the questions, because we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves. We haven't even mentioned the R word. Well, we have, but we're going to get into it now. Okay, so one of the main criticisms of this show, mostly from Jack Bennett, is that you have these two like just absolute hubbards sitting in front of the camera talking about the biggest bike race in the world. Well, you partially be right, but what you don't realise here, guys, is that one particular person here is an experienced Roubaix rider.
According to who?
Well, I mean, the truth is, Luke, and I'm sure you can bring up some of the photo evidence here. Not those ones. No, not those ones. The one of
experienced rider.
No, the one of me, mate. The one of me. So basically, yes, we have a situation where the guys have been a bit critical that we don't really know what we're talking about. I give you this. I give you my history as a Paris-Roubaix contestant. Yes, it might have been a Fondo, but Fondos are harder than races, right? Pretty much.
Yeah,
that's all there is.
sure.
No, okay. So look, a couple of years ago, I did the Roubaix. The Roubaix Sportif, it was horrible, I might add. It was absolutely horrible. Under no circumstances will I ever go do that again because those bloody cobbles are terrible.
Have you been going to the gym?
I was a bit of CrossFit at that stage.
Yeah, looking pretty swole there, Chris.
How many kgs were you then?
Probably about 10 heavier than I am now. Good tan, though.
So like 90 kilos?
Most of it's in the hair, though, I think.
No, that's the product in there.
Oh, it was a product in the hair. I will get to that. That was another question about what product we've been using. We'll 100% cover that. Now, if you can come back to the picture of and the sequence there that we've got up there, Luke, because we have sort of briefly discussed it. I don't know what to say.
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot to say. I mean, everyone's seen it. Everyone's heard of this already. Just all you can say is pretty gutted for Richie. I mean, watching him break down into tears on the side of the road was pretty hard not to break down into tears myself.
Do you remember when he came to the first stage of the Tour of Tassie?
I remember.
And he's like, because he's super supportive of the NRS and he has been for ages. And like, you kind of think like at that moment there, like he was he even mentioned at that stage, he was talking about the C40s that I was running, and he's like, yeah, these will be the ones I run at the Tour. And like, man, seriously, give this guy anyway.
Yeah. I think he deserves some luck. If he didn't have bad luck, he'd have no luck at all, as the saying goes.
That's it. Now move on to the next picture, Luke, because crashes were obviously the biggest element to this whole shenanigans.
Yeah, it seems like crashing was the in thing. Pretty much everyone had a crack at it at some point. I think some people, I don't know if anyone liked it, but some people just got out of it better than others.
Now, what did you spot in this picture?
So I was actually looking, I mean, obviously you have a crash and there were a lot of crashes, but I was looking at what sort of bikes people were running for this kind of stage. So you have all kinds of bikes here. You have a Roubaix specific bike in the Trek Ride. He's on a Domane. You have a Canyon Aero, which is a full aero bike. You have a Specialized S-Works tarmac, and then the two Bora wheels that you can see, the Campagnolos, are actually from Movistar, who are riding Canyon Ultimate. So it's interesting seeing how many teams didn't run specific Roubaix bikes. A lot of them actually just ran their standard road setup, put wider tires on it, and made small mods to their road setup. Interestingly enough, Sky went absolutely ham and actually brought in 3 bikes per rider for this stage only. So they brought in 3 Pinarello K10s, I think it was, for the rider. So I don't know how many bikes it is, 3 times 8. Yeah, it's a lot of bikes.
Yeah, it is. And you can kind of see there, I mean, the thing that was amazing to me was the guys that were coming off on the corners. I mean, this isn't particular that because it is a cobbled section, but obviously the dust that was building up on those corners, it almost made it a different race to what it is in April with the dry dustiness, which you wouldn't see in April. So
yes,
because you obviously get the muddiness and that kind of thing then. So now if you flick on to the next picture there, Luke, I thought that was a great comment. You saw a great comment from this man, right?
Yeah, so for the first, what did he say? It was something along the lines of, for the first 50 Ks, I hated cycling. I hated riding my bike. So Tommy D, not living for the first 50 Ks of the Roubaix stage. He was not having a good time. He said it was effectively a 50 K sprint lead out. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, he's always very upfront, very blunt about these kind of things, very honest. And to hear him just say that he absolutely despised the first half of this, or the first 50 Ks of this race, I don't know, it's a bit of a reality check.
It's a bit of a reality check, but guys, I think this sort of brings us onto a bit of a question, and fire into the comments about this, because okay, we know the results, but like, where should Roubaix really be in the Tour? I mean, Paris-Roubaix is just an incredible race itself. Like, should we be trying to put a piece of this race into a Grand Tour? What do you think?
My thought is yes. I really like these kinds of stages. First off, it's not a full Roubaix stage. It's not 260 kilometers. You have half the number of sectors of pavé as Roubaix does, and you have in terms of how many stars each sector has, you have far less stars on each sector, so they're not quite as harsh. General classification, it's for the most well-rounded rider, and it adds another element to that. So I think yes. So I'd like to see more of these. I mean, Richie crashing before the cobbles is pretty awful to see, but the actual cobbles themselves didn't totally destroy the GC hopes of anybody. I mean, what about you? Agree or disagree?
Well, for me, it's like a great example. Like last night is like I wanted to go to bed. Like we'd got home late from going to Melbourne and all the rest of it, and started watching it. I was like, I'll just watch to the next ad break, next voice sound break. And of course, every 15 minutes, I crashed, something had happened. And you're just staying up and staying up and staying up. And I have not experienced that this tour.
No.
Like, that has certainly not in some of those sprint stages. So, like, from that perspective, you have to say, like, this is a sport that needs that kind of thing. Absolutely. I don't necessarily agree with you that this wasn't, like, a hard sort of Roubaix. I mean, obviously it's not the full distance, but
it's not an easy stage.
No, but it's a stage. That's the thing. It's like, you know, when you ride Paris-Roubaix, you're not then getting up the next day and climbing the Alps, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So I think that definitely plays a role here. Like, and if you can actually bring up some of the pictures there, Luke, and this is kind of the next one along. Great little scenes like this. I mean, this is fantastic vision that you don't normally see. Just that kind of brutal chaos that can kind of happen in this. And if you skip along to the next one there, Luke, I love the fact that it's the one time that you get the classics guys and the GC guys. It's like it's all coming together.
It's not something you really see. I mean, you have times where, like guys like Quintana, who
I love this picture.
He raced a couple of the classics a few years ago.
Yeah.
But it's interesting actually seeing them really. There's a lot at stake for both types of riders. They're both having a red hot
like
crack.
How cool is that? You see like Quintana, and then like behind him is Andre Greipel, and they're both like suffering through the cobbles.
And don't forget Van Avermaet is there behind in the yellow jersey. Yeah. I mean, you've got one of the best classics riders in the world behind one of the best Grand Tour riders in the world. I mean, you don't normally see that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And Manly Warringah was just saying that Quintana had one of the standout performances of the GC contenders, and I think I'd agree with that. I mean, he performed really well. Movistar as a whole actually did very well, much better than expected. They didn't really have many or any classics specialists for the cobbled classics, and they actually performed really well. They got pretty much all of their main, the Trident, all three of their GC riders. They managed to get them all through the front group. So I think you'd have to agree there with Manly saying that Quintana's really pushed through and has done an awesome job.
Yeah, he has
over the cobbles, and definitely agree with you there. It's pretty awesome seeing those big guns around the GC riders. It's not something you see too often. And Lander as well, having a late spill. I think he only lost 7 seconds or something.
It didn't lose too much, but I mean,
performance all around.
I will say this, I can't wait to see the effect of this stage on these GC guys in the next couple of weeks. I mean, I think I heard that little interview there with Stuart O'Grady earlier today talking about it, like saying that, you know, the days after a Roubaix race, the last thing you ever want to do is get on a bike. Well, these guys are not only getting on a bike, but they're not even halfway through this tour. So
yeah, exactly. You've got a mountain.
There's going to be some broken humans, unfortunately.
For sure.
Just before we get back onto the questions, Luke, bring up some of the tech pictures. Yeah, so obviously this is actually one of the main reasons I like the Roubaix stage, because it's like just the stuff that you see, it's just very different to what you normally see in the road bike. So can you maybe explain what we're kind of seeing in some of this stuff?
Yes, I mean, you have a lot of mods happen to the road bikes for these kind of stages. I was saying before, Sky brought in a whole bunch for Jack Ben. It was actually 24. 8 times 3 is 24. You had a whole bunch of new bikes essentially for this stage only. They've obviously put the brakes, the cyclocross brakes, up on the front there so they can reach them on the tops. This was probably my favorite sort of bike setup. I mean, I like seeing a little bit of gear. It was nice seeing them bring out something new, something interesting compared to what everyone else was doing. Who was it? Someone just pointed out in the chat DR that Bernal actually broke 2 fingers when he crashed.
Jesus.
Which is not ideal. He slid out on the paved surface and landed on the stones. So pretty much the worst of both worlds there. So pretty awful.
Pretty nasty.
What about you? What was your favourite tech?
I was really surprised, like I mentioned in the beginning, that a lot of the guys weren't running. Actually, hold this one. I'm going to avoid that question.
Okay.
Because this is a great picture. So, a lot of the times you see a lot of the tech and stuff for this is like pure performance based and all this kind of thing. But here's a bit of a reality check. The thing is that these guys are racing, well, particularly Lotto Jump will be racing on the C40s, C60s for the Tour de France. Okay, so they've got this whole myriad of wheels for the Tour. Yet throw in this one race, right? This one particular stage. What are they going to do? Re-glue all their wheels? No, they've actually gone back to the previous gen C50s, damn good wheels, and just glued those up with their specific Roubaix tyres. So just a kind of, okay, mechanics are going to be super pushed for time. Let's just get these tyres on a wheel that's going to do a damn good job for us, and away we go. I kind of like that. I really do like that fact. I do have to. I love the comment from Manly there. Like that to me. Yeah, that is such a great comment, and you can see, but for those of you guys who can't see, it's the most important team stage outside of the TTT, and I couldn't agree more. And you can see teams that actually went out, and we said this in the very beginning, that went out and chose their Tour de France team based on their ability to do a good team time trial.
Yep.
And a good Roubaix stage.
Yeah, I mean, one of those teams specifically, I guess, would be AG Desert Le Mondial. I mean, they have Sylvain Dillier, who obviously came second at Roubaix this year. You've got Oliver Naassen, who was Belgian road race champ last year and is always up there in the classics. Dillier has previously been Swiss national road race and time trial champion.
Yep.
So they've picked a very well-rounded squad. Obviously, they had a whole bunch of mechanical issues to make up for, which was a bit of a shame with Bardet. I think we counted it up as 5 or 6 issues. AG Desert actually had 5 issues for the entire stage, and all 5 of them were taken up by Bardet. So the whole team just spent the day making up for him. But they did a great job. He ended up losing, I think, only 7 seconds at the end of the day, which is a really great team performance from them.
Agreed.
So they've obviously done a really great job, all of the classics riders there. Interestingly, they said they had no issues whatsoever in the reconnaissance, and then on race day they had 5. So I'm not really sure what's going on there. I mean, you're the expert on having mishaps happen like that on race day.
Can have a mechanical. Not sure what's going on there. Pretty crazy. I will quickly mention that I haven't had a good chance to sit down and really talk about kits yet. That is definitely coming. I will quickly sort of say that Trek Segafredo.
I'm not doing French Mercedes, but that's cracking me up. How good is it that school holidays caller can stay up and watch the Tour?
No, I think school holidays are ending, aren't they?
That's made me laugh.
Trek Segafredo, look, guys, I had you in my top 5, and then I saw a picture there today that there was a shot there of Balcomolima, and if you know, maybe might get Luke to try and pop it up before we go, but unfortunately they've fallen into a tragic idea of it's actually in the Tour de France
stitching of the...
It's in the Tour de France one with Richie Porte at the beginning of the sequence, Luke. Yeah, keep going back. Yep, keep going back, keep going back, keep going back, keep going back, keep going back. This is good TV. There you go, there you go. So, God, I really like the colour spec on this, and I really like those Trek Madones, the way the big decal on the Trek. I love it. Time did it on their frames a couple of years ago. Beautiful. They've kind of stepped that up. But what is going on with that white bum trim? Why?
It's just an outline. You've got to make it known.
Why? It's like, we went and saw the Oliver's skin suits and went, there's a good idea, and sort of went, let's just suddenly cup the bum. No, terrible fail. My kit chat will come, and I don't understand why Katusha. Anyway, no, I shouldn't go into this.
It's a big no from Chris Miller.
It's a big no. Katusha, what is the weird blue that's not white?
It's baby blue, Chris.
It's not. It's
Have some taste.
It's like, I washed my things in white, and then I left a blue sock in there, and it's a bizarre colour.
No, it looks nice.
Okay. The my favourite national, or actually off the cuff, favourite national champs jersey.
It's got to be the Australian national champs jersey.
Oh, okay, is it?
Yeah, 100%. I
Right.
mean, Alex Edmo's not actually in the tour this year, but yeah, that's definitely my favourite. What about yours?
At the tour,
Yep.
definitely the Belgian one.
Okay.
I love the Belgian
If we're
one.
picking at the tour, I'd pick Michał Kwiatkowski's Polish champs jersey. I'm
Class.
big fan of that one.
Class.
And then obviously the rainbow jersey is pretty nifty as well.
It is. It is. We will
Pick a comment.
pick a comment.
Can we go to some more questions?
Yeah.
That's what we were referring to here. I did notice, I think Chris was talking about Motorgate. I did kind of think we were, the UCI are making a big deal out of the fact that they are iPadding every single bike that's going through there, which I kind of have to laugh at, to be brutally honest.
I think what they're talking about, I haven't actually seen the footage of it, but I've
Robbie's
I've
shaking
heard
his
about
head.
it. Who was it? Was it Tom Squinch? Had a crash and his wheel or his wheel kept spinning or his crank or something. It might have looked a little bit like he had an issue there, similar to a rider Hejadal a few years ago. Could be something along those lines. I'm not 100% sure on that one. Sorry, guys.
Great question from Alex Henderson. I don't think so. It's a question referring to Greg Van Avermaet. Would he have ridden differently in this particular stage? I think he would have been given a free rein no matter what on this stage. BMC were pretty well set up with Shar and a few other boppers to get Richie through this stage, and Greg would have been he would have been let off the hook here.
Definitely. Brandon Nance, 230k plus stages, yes or no? That's a big no from me. Just make it 180k, whack him in the bus for 50, you'll be right. You can make it a lot more exciting. I don't think that extra 50k's is necessary. You look a bit unimpressed by that.
Well, no, I was just more referring to Seb Wilson there, who's commenting on George Hincapie. But the reality is, I've done Roubaix as well. Look, here's some footage. Here's some footage from my bike camera at Roubaix. I mean,
This is the
all
old
good
school
and well.
vlog.
This is the original vlog, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. This is bouncing away through Roubaix in 2012. So yeah, look, George might have. George and I have won as many Roubaix as each other. That's all I'll say. So my answer.
Cold.
For those people who haven't actually ridden the cobbles of these, it is horrible. It is truly horrible. Like, how if you do like a beautiful climb or something like that, it's tough, it's hard, but you get to the top and it's like euphoric. It's like, wow, I've achieved this. You get to the end of a cobbled sector and it's just like, I just never want to do that again. So, that's a
Just
lovely
like Tommy
image.
D.
Tommy D,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Not
Exactly.
enjoying life.
Exactly.
All right. Oh my god. All right. I think it's time to pick a comment.
I think it
is. So what are we going for? It was the best comment was awarded the sunglasses. We've had some pretty good ones, I would say.
Can you help us out here, Luke?
Can we answer more questions first?
More questions. Is Paul staying with BMC next year? No.
Is BMC even going to be a team next year is also a valid question. I'm not sure the answer to both of those things.
Robbie had a question. Studio audience.
Yes?
What was it?
Port's going to Trek Segafredo, by the way. He'll have that terrible white.
Yeah, he'll have a white loop. Oshowitz's comments about the collarbone, I think were a little bit out of line. I'm not sure if you saw them or not. Saying that it's not broken. He essentially just made Port out to be a bit of a crybaby and that kind of thing. And said it's essentially just said, like, sort of harden up. It's really not that bad. Enjoy your other team kind of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, a bit of class would be nice.
Yep.
I mean, Richie's a pretty classy bloke. I wonder if he's done anything to upset
Yep.
Jim Oshowitz. But I mean, if you tell your team it's fine to look for another team, and they find another team, you can't get that upset.
Degenkov interview from Lorez.
Degenkolb's interview.
Yes.
Whose comment is that one?
Lorenz.
So, Degenkolb's interview. I mean, obviously, is this the emotional one? He breaks down into tears. Yeah, pretty awesome. I mean, Pretty great to see Degenkolb win, and I love seeing a bit of raw emotion on the finish line. Obviously, great to see him back winning after his training crash. How long ago was it? A year and a half, 2 years, a year? Pretty awesome to see him coming back from that, back into winning form.
Yep, he's one of my favorite riders.
Oh,
absolutely.
Definitely putting away Greg Van Avermaet in a sprint at the end of Roubaix.
And his sprint style.
And his sprint style, he's bobbing his head. He's obviously getting into it. So yeah, pretty awesome to see him just kind of break down into tears and really get stuck in. It's great to see.
Yeah. BMC bought by a Polish Pro Conti team. Oh, we'll maybe see them in the carrot orange.
Fluorescent orange.
Wow.
CCC. Brandy Polkowitzer.
Yes,
You pronounce
good
it.
stuff.
Yeah, wow.
Brandon asked a question: 230 kilometre stages in the GT.
Oh no, we answered
We've
that one.
answered that one.
We're both a no on that.
No, do not agree.
We're both a no.
Big winner of the GC guys from last night. I think Manly was saying, we alluded to it earlier, I would have to pick Quintana. Did a very good job. Dumoulin had a crack at trying to get away a few times. He had awesome legs, but couldn't quite make it. Froome did a reasonable job. He crashed at one point. He actually crashed into some grass, which was very lucky. He didn't actually fall to the ground. He just sort of jumped off his bike.
Yep.
Van Avermaet rode around him. So I think, it's hard to say the best of the GC guys. They all kind of finished together.
They did. And that was the small criticism of the stage in the end, is that those guys kind of did start playing a bit defensively to limit any losses and that kind of thing. But like I kind of mentioned before, I think these dudes are going to pay for this big time. I think Bardet will pay for all those efforts coming back in.
Yeah, you'd have to think
two ways about it.
Yeah, I would think so. Robbie Matthews asks who's going to win the white jersey, and I'm going to have to say Antoine Tolhoek, because he's going to have some experience. He's got maybe 15 years left to crack that one, so I'm sure Antoine will be able to pick it up, if not this year, in the coming years. I'm sure he's got many more tries under his belt.
And I have absolutely no idea.
I don't actually know who's competing for the white jersey.
It's a weird one, isn't it? You get to the third week and you're like, oh, who's that?
Yeah, not too sure.
Now, predictions, before we go, predictions for where this race is headed.
So it'd be interesting to see how... I'm interested to see how Sky go. They've lost Bernal, who's obviously a climbing prodigy. If he's broken 2 fingers, that's going to take a fair whack out of him. So I'd be interested to see how they go. The DS has still been saying that Froome is the leader, the outright leader. It doesn't matter what happens. If they're going to review, it's going to happen later, but currently it is still all for Froome. Doesn't matter that Guerin's ahead, it is the Froomey show. So I'm interested to see how they go with their politics, and pretty curious to see how this grid start is going to go at some point, especially with Movistar. They've got 3 guys up there. But my prediction, if I had to say one, is I'm going to say that Froome, the most experienced Grand Tour winner here, is going to show everyone what he's made of, and he's going to pick up the Giro Tour double and continue to hold the title of all 3 Grand Tours at the same time. So
I think both of us were obviously rooting for Richie, as well as probably the majority of the guys here in the chat. Have you shifted your allegiance anywhere? Are you shouting for anyone? Are you just going to play it by ear and see who rides with that word that we hate to use, but we will use it in this particular circumstance? Panache.
I was really backing Richie here. To see him crash out kind of means that I'm sort of a bit lost. Social Spinners asked, people say that Richie can't handle bike, can go up, can TT, but can't handle. Do I agree? I'm going to have to say no. I think Richie's not too bad on his bike. I mean, obviously there are better riders out there. I actually remember having a pretty heated debate with Antoine about this one.
And Chris Powell.
With Chris Powell about this. I think Richie's fine. I mean, he crashed with a lot of other people who are renowned bike handlers. I mean, he had Andre Greipel crash with him. Nicky Terpstra crashed down the road after a few cobbled sectors. So it's not like it was Richie's bike handling. There were a few weapon bike handlers go down in that specific issue. So I'm not going to say that he's a bad bike handler, but great question. Back to who I'm going to back. My unpopular opinion here is actually going to be that I quite like Chris Froome. So I'm probably going to back
You and
Froomey.
Liz. Elizabeth loves Chris Froome.
Yeah, I mean, people say he doesn't ride with any kind of panache, like you say, but I would disagree with that. I mean, his first couple of Tour wins, yeah, I would say he just sat behind the train, didn't lose any time in the mountains, and then just blasted everybody in the individual time trials. But after seeing him break away once again in the crosswinds, attack on a downhill, I mean, have the balls to break away from 80 k's to go in the Giro. Yeah, I respect Froome. I'd actually kind of like to see him win the Giro and the Tour in 1 year.
Yeah.
Best Grand Tour rider at the moment.
I think we've got a lot to shout for. Personally, I'll be on the Dan Martin bandwagon.
Oh, and I'm a huge fan of Bardet.
No
I
two
will say
ways
that as
about
well.
it. I think Bardet's a pretender. We will not see him any further. Pumped to see what Nibali can do. Look, there's still some good... Man, Rigoberto Urán, I think he's going to be finishing 5th or 6th, but again, you never know. But firmly in the Dan Martin band for the next couple of weeks. No two ways about it. His team will be absolutely useless once they get to the hills. But
Yeah, for sure.
you never know.
I think a couple of people are saying in the chat, but would Richie win at Heffron? And maybe he needs to win at a Heffron, because as the saying goes, if you can win at Heffron, you can win anywhere.
Yep.
So maybe Richie just needs to win a Heffron, and then he'll be sorted, and we
Yep.
can move on, go to the Tour next year, and we'll be right.
Sounds good to me. All right, guys, we will be back later in the week. We haven't quite worked out whether it's Wednesday or Thursday just yet, because tonight is a rest day. So we will get you some info on that. Thank you very much for the
Who
chat.
wins? Who
We
wins?
need
The glasses.
we will do a winner. So
Ooh.
Fred Flintstone.
Luke, you're gonna have to help me out,
Mm.
because I did see the question that I did really like. If you go back up,
No, I'm not scrolling your screen.
oh, you can't scroll this screen.
No.
We need a drum roll?
We do need a drum roll. You can't scroll this screen because I can genuinely not remember.
Yeah, look, let me just do everything. Sure.
There we go. Jeez, you guys need to get along.
We spend way too much time together of late.
I think so. All right.
Personally, I think Brandon asked some good questions.
Yeah, Brandon's been a staple.
I think so.
Good commenting in the chat lately. Gets the very least an honourable mention.
Studio audience is excluded.
Brandon, we'll send us an email to info@neroracingbike.com and we will get these sunglasses out to you. Thank you very much for really being with us from the beginning and keeping on top of all this. So we'll get these out to you.
Nice work, Brandon.
Thanks, guys. As I said, Wednesday or Thursday, we'll let you know. Man, there's a lot to come. I'm looking forward to this. We will see you later. Play the outro, Luke.